The town of Hollow Creek was small, tucked away between forgotten highways in rural Kentucky. Population: barely 300. Nothing much happened there, just quiet woods, rusting barns, and long country roads. But if you asked the locals about the Crane farmhouse, they'd all tell you the same thing: don't go near it. The farmhouse sat at the edge of the creek, abandoned for decades. But people swore they still saw smoke rising from its crooked chimney, or a lantern swaying on the porch. Kids dared each other to walk past it at night, but no one ever stayed too long. Because if you lingered, you might see her, Agatha Crane, the widow who was said to still live there, even though she should have died years ago. They said she had a taste, not for whiskey, not for wine, but for blood. It was late October when Earl McKinley, a 42-year-old truck driver, found himself on a back road outside Hollow Creek. He was hauling freight from Nashville to Cincinnati, but he'd taken a wrong turn, his GPS dying hours ago. The sun had set, and fog was beginning to creep out of the trees. That's when his engine sputtered. The truck stalled, headlights dimming. He cursed, banged the wheel, tried the ignition again, but it wouldn't start. His phone had no bars. The woods pressed in on him, silent except for crickets. Then he saw it, a faint light in the distance. Through the trees, a house stood crooked on a hill, its windows glowing faintly yellow. Relieved, Earl grabbed his flashlight and walked toward it. The closer he got, the stranger it felt. The air smelled metallic, like old pennies. The front porch sagged under his weight, and before he could even knock, the door creaked open. Inside sat an old woman in a rocking chair, her gray hair hanging in tangled ropes, her dress black and moth-eaten. In her hand, she held a mason jar filled with something dark and red. She smiled. Her teeth glistened. "Evenin', stranger. You look parched." Earl stepped inside cautiously. The air was heavy, damp. His flashlight caught shelves along the wall, lined with jars. Dozens of them, all filled with blood. Some thick and clotted, others fresh, bright crimson. Floating in one jar was a finger. Another held a cluster of teeth. His stomach churned. "What the hell is this?" he muttered. Agatha's voice was a rasp. "Preserves. Same as my mama used to keep peaches in jars. But mine are sweeter." She lifted the jar to her lips and drank. The liquid smeared her chin. She moaned, satisfied, before fixing her glassy eyes on Earl. "You'll do nicely." Earl stumbled back, his flashlight beam shaking. But the door he'd entered through was now shut. Earl wasn't the first to meet her. The people of Hollow Creek knew about Agatha Crane. Long ago, in the 1920s, she was the wife of a coal miner. When he died in an accident, something inside her broke. She was seen roaming the woods at night, digging up freshly buried animals, then freshly buried people. When children went missing in the Depression years, parents whispered her name. But nothing was ever proven. The sheriff at the time went to arrest her. He was never seen again. His badge was later found inside one of her jars. Eventually, she vanished. Some said she fled, others that she died in the woods. But every generation since then, Hollow Creek had its disappearances, hunters, drifters, travelers on the wrong road. And every time, someone swore they saw the farmhouse lit again, the silhouette of an old woman rocking on the porch. Earl's heart pounded as Agatha rose from her chair. She was slow, her back bent, but her hands shook with hunger. Her nails were long, yellow, sharp. "I like it warm," she croaked, straight from the vein. He bolted toward the back door, slamming into it with his shoulder. Until it burst open. He ran into the dark field, but the grass was high, the ground uneven. Behind him, he heard the creak of her laughter, a horrible wet sound, like someone choking while they laughed. The fog rolled in thick, and Earl stumbled blindly. He found a shed and ducked inside. It smelled worse than the house. His flashlight beam caught rows of butchered animals, skinned and hung upside down. Only, some of them weren't animals. One was a child's shoe still on a shriveled foot. The beam flickered. The sound of bare feet shuffled outside the shed. Then, knuckles rapped slowly on the wood. Thirsty yet, Agatha whispered. Earl smashed through the shed window, cutting himself on the glass. Blood ran down his arm. He staggered into the trees, but the forest seemed endless. His head spun, his vision blurred. That's when he realized, the cut wasn't that deep. He shouldn't be this weak. Something was wrong. His skin felt cold. His veins itched. In the distance, he saw her, Agatha, walking calmly through the fog, clutching one of her jars. With each step, Earl's body grew heavier, as if she were draining him from afar. "No use runnin', boy," she called. "I can smell you. I can taste you already." Desperate, Earl reached the road. His truck sat in the distance. He forced his legs forward, the sound of her footsteps right behind him. He climbed into the cab, slammed the door, and turned the key. Miraculously, the engine roared back to life. In the rearview mirror, he saw her standing in the middle of the road, holding up her jar like a toast, her grin wide, her teeth glistening. She didn't chase him. She didn't have to. Because when Earl finally reached the nearest truck stop, he collapsed. His veins were blackened, his skin pale. He was alive, but something inside him was missing. Earl never drove that route again. He told his story once, at a bar, but no one believed him. They said he was drunk, or high, or losing his mind. But those who lived near Hollow Creek knew better. Because the disappearances continued, travelers still went missing. And sometimes, when the fog rolled thick across the Kentucky woods, you could still see the Crane farmhouse glowing faintly in the distance, a silhouette rocking slowly on the porch. And if you got close enough, you might smell it, the copper tang of fresh blood. The end.